All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z, and he is the great Hoff. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we living?
The Hoff. It's
in the mix.
It's glorious. And look at his hat.
The hat's unbelievable.
The Hall of Fame
Hall
beef.
of Fame beef. Look at that. That's your brand?
This is the brand, yeah. It's got the little football, to give a little hint at what the background was.
Let me see a tilt on it a little sec, Hoff. All right, so is it?
Yeah, it's like a football, some laces on the top.
6SF, rockin' 6SF. That's how we would describe it.
We can go with that, yeah. But
usually that you get a little rockin'. That's how
exactly. We wanted to make it sort of like a cattle brand.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not an official cattle brand that you could use because of, as you know, like you can't have a lot of touches and tight corners, otherwise they'll get like infections and stuff. But we wanted to make it look a little bit like a cattle brand and kind of go with that and and hint a little bit to the football background, but move towards the cattle space. And we're doing it. We just slaughtered two steers a couple of weeks ago, just in time for the holiday season. Maybe ship up a little bit to you, fine gentlemen here.
I'm gonna
not afraid.
We discussed. I'm a big fan of what you got going there, Hoff. What is your brand? What is your cow's brand?
We don't actually brand them.
Oh, you don't?
Just because they live on our place in one little spot right down by our bubbling stream their entire life. And so we don't have to worry about them escaping. We've got a ear tag, so you don't really have to brand them because our ear tag has the logo and it's got their number, and then you can read through their history of who their mom was mom was, who their dad was, that type of stuff.
That's awesome. That's very good.
A family tree.
Yeah, there's so much open in the Montana. There's so much public land and so many that get out of fence. So they're actually a brand inspector. So unlike in Yellowstone where they have like the guy, they make Casey's job like the most important in the world. Really, the brand inspector is the big one. Because every time you load them to slaughter, every cow has to be inspected for brand inspection.
Because there's these huge national lands that you get leasing rights to be able to graze, and then a lot of times they get mixed up. As you guys know, I'm sure. As
he grew up
sure.
The
brown spotted, sometimes they mix around.
Brown spotted can get anywhere, man. Yeah. Those guys will go run right through a fence.
You got to keep track of them. They all look the same.
We hit the practice field today at 2:05. It is official. Dorian Thompson-Robinson starts at quarterback Sunday in Cincinnati. Dr. Z?
Yeah, it was time to give him a look, see if what he can do for you here. Can he be that long-term backup? He's under rookie contract and a 5th-round deal for the next 2 seasons, so you want to see him. And the one thing I'll say is, listen, the numbers we know are not pretty for his career. It's 1 touchdown, 7 picks. He's thrown 3 this year in 2 games in relief. There have only been 2 times in his entire career that he's actually taken the reps in the week leading up and then been the starting quarterback. The first was against Pittsburgh at home and actually led the game-winning drive for a D-Hop field goal and Jim Donovan's return and got the win over the Steelers. And the other was in Denver. They were at a slow start, I think down 14-0, but his last 3 drives were field goal, touchdown, field goal. So his last 3 scoring drives were all scoring drives. So I think it is a very different scenario when you're just coming in off the bench and you're a young player as opposed to being, a veteran who kind of comes in those situations. And so we'll see what he can do. The onus, there's, I think, pressure on him, and the onus is on DTR to, number 1, take care of the football, but number 2, to make plays, to lead this offense. You're getting as tasty a matchup as you could hope to get with the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and to show that, I'm somebody that you can, because we're going to have to pinch pennies in a lot of places with this salary situation going forward, that, for 2 years you can say at least we've got our backup. If we need him to play a quarter of the season, he can still guide us through that. That's to me what this is, a 3-game audition. And now Kevin Spade said it's week to week, but I think I'd like to see a 3-game audition to make the case that you can be that for the Cleveland Browns if you're DTR.
Hoff, one thing that certainly occurred when Jameis came in for Deshaun was obviously offensive statistical output went through the roof. From a inside the room perspective, how does that play? Because Jameis was obviously very popular, and I know he turns the ball over, and that is who he is. But at the same time, Jerry Jeudy's a top 5 receiver in the NFL now, and that's one of the things that's happened there too. Our offensive line paid better when they knew that a quarterback would be at a depth that he was supposed to be at. So those things were beneficial. How's it play?
Well, I think the reason that you didn't go to DTR sooner was for the things that you mentioned. You didn't want to slow down the development and the growth of the rest of the guys in the offense because you weren't sure if DTR could get the ball out on time. He could be in the right spot. He could help develop Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore and get the ball to David Njoku, and you could find out, who are these guys on the offense and what can they do, because you're always, after you're sort of out of the playoff hunt, you're looking towards next season. What can we be next season? Who do we have to build around? And obviously I think Jameis gave that to a lot of those guys. You mentioned Jerry Jeudy playing great football when Jameis Winston's in there. I think there's a really good future here with Jerry Jeudy. But I think once you saw the Jameis was Jameis, you're keeping both teams in the game, which I love as the moniker for Jameis Winston. He makes it exciting. But I think when you put DTR in last week, you saw that, hey, I don't think he's going to slow down the growth of any of these receivers. I think that he gives you a little bit more mobility than Jameis does. And they really believe, after the small sample size that they've seen from him, that if they give him time to be the guy and take all the reps during the week, he's going to be able to deliver the football. He's going to make mistakes, sure, but I think they trust him enough now after seeing him last week and then the few times that he's played already that he will be able to run the offense, to operate it, to get the ball to Jeudy, to get the ball to Elijah Moore, to get the ball to David Njoku. And I think they just want to see more of it. And they want to, unwrap that present that's under the tree and figure out, hey, who do we have in DTR? And is this guy somebody that maybe we can fit into what we're trying to build for next season?
Yeah, and I don't know if after last game if that were true, but going into the last game, because, Jameis only threw for 146 and we were the number 2 passing offense in the league with him as the starting quarterback, behind only Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So you're right. It got that going. I was looking back, the last time we played Cincinnati was the last time that, he wasn't the starter. And Jerry Jeudy in that game had 1 catch for 18 yards.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy since then has not been below 5 catches, nor has he been below 65 yards. In fact, in most games he's over 70, and in multiple games he's over 100, 3 times in fact. So it's weird playing them. It's kind of going back and looking at this. I mean, Zadarius Smith had a sack for us in that game. That was Nick Chubb's first game back with a touchdown. Deshaun Watson started that game and actually played pretty well. I mean, he was leading us down into the end. It was 15-17 for 128 yards in that game. That's the last time that we saw him. It's just so much has changed, and that was week 7. I mean, so much has changed for this football team. And yeah, I think that there is production, and you're worried about that. But, remember at the time, DTR was named the backup for that game.
He sure was.
Jameis played that game as the emergency third when both Watson and DTR got hurt. So
they were trending in that way then.
Yes, they most certainly were. And now here you are. And I think Jameis did his part in terms of showing exactly what Jerry Jeudy could be. Obviously, the Chief had 7 catches in 3 of the last 4 games with him. He had 4 touchdowns in 6 games with Jameis. And now it's on DTR to say, all right, I can keep this moving. I can keep this operation going. We can still be explosive and productive. But I'm going to do a better job of taking care of the football. He's obviously more dangerous with his legs. We know that. And this is a game that it's got to look good. I mean, it really does. Now, Trey Hendrickson is going to be a problem. We have problems at left tackle. Jermaine Ifedi's doing the best he can, but that's going to be a problem. But this is a defense that you should be able to get after.
Yeah, and I think one other thing that they want to look at, not just individual players, but I think they were looking at scheme, right? Because we've talked a lot about this season and how we've done a better job overall when we're under center with Jameis. DTR is a guy that likes to play in the shotgun a little bit more, and I think going through the offseason and figuring out, okay, who do we want to be from a scheme standpoint, will give us some good looks at, hey, let's sprinkle in a little bit of under center with this guy and see if he can do it. But let's also do some of the things he's comfortable with, some of the things that Ken Dorsey had brought here to run with Deshaun Watson, and just see what that looks like with the DTR. And then I think you can kind of fill in some of the blind spots that maybe you have as you're reviewing your season going into next year.
He certainly should be able to run the RPO stuff. I mean, he did that for Chip Kelly at UCLA. And we talked about this, I think, on Monday, Hoffo, you were on, but I'll revisit it for the people just joining us. This is our shotgun percentage with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. In 2020, 43% shotgun. That was 29th in the league. 21, it was 50%, 29th in the league. 22, you bring in Deshaun Watson, it goes up to 57%, 22nd in the league. 23, it's 63%, 20th in the league. And then this year, 75% shotgun, 5th most in the league.
Yeah, that's the flip.
And we haven't run the ball effectively. We're clearly a much better, in under center running team, and we haven't been as effective. Now, we've been air raiding it a little bit with Jameis, and that had produced a lot of fun moments, but it's also produced the most giveaways in the National Football League. We led the league in giveaways last year over the course of the season. We're on our way to doing that again this year. We had the most giveaways in the league since Jameis has been the quarterback, 7 games, and Jameis himself had 9 in the last 3 games. I mean, you can't win that way.
We stumbled onto this Monday when we were talking about kind of where to go from here in the last 3 games, and at that time, is it time for DTR, or what do we need to see here? And there's a lot that needs to be sorted out this offseason. And it's not just – it's what the HOF just mentioned as well. It's not just what's this quarterback room look like. Is it looking for a more permanent long-term quarterback answer, or is it a bridge quarterback to get you a year or 2? Is it a bridge quarterback to get you to November and Deshaun Watson comes back healthy? That was something Mary Kay talked about over the weekend. So all of those things are out there. But beyond that, to your point and what we talked about Monday, is what are the Cleveland Browns? Offensively, who are the Cleveland Browns? And for the first few years of the Kevin Stefanski era, pretty directly knew what they were.
Yep.
I don't know anymore. And so it's what we did, and we know why they brought in Ken, and we understand that when Ken had Jameis and Jameis was throwing it down the field, it was awfully productive. But it was brought in to make the most out of Deshaun Watson and make him and put him in the best position to succeed.
Of course.
Deshaun is not going to be active until November. So you have a whole off season where you got to figure out what you are offensively. What's the identity? Yeah, that's a huge, big,
of course,
monster task.
The best offenses in the league have an identity. You can put your finger on. That's what they do well. When times get tough, they're going to lean on this, and they believe in it. Everybody knows it's coming, but you can't stop it, right?
Yeah.
And the Browns don't have that, right? Obviously, they're not a good offense. Have not been good this season, and so you're trying to figure out, okay, what is our identity going to be next year? Who are the guys that can lean into that? Who are the guys that we need to replace? And it's figuring out, and I don't have that answer right now. Do you want to be more of that shotgun RPO, Ken Dorsey style offense, or do you want to go back to more of the Kevin Stefanski under center, run the ball, zone, pin, pull, play action type offense? And I think that'll be really important to make a decision of who you want to be in that quarterback room going into next season.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned just some of the things that we did, like pin pull. We tried it actually a few times in this game last week to no success, because when guys coming around on the pull are not getting forward, they're getting hit and bouncing, and then the guy running around outside behind him has nowhere to go because everything's now bounced back. Mm-hmm. We just haven't been able to get that push, it feels like, and our best run was actually on a draw play that turned out an incredible 90-degree cut by Jerome Ford, and a couple of good wide receiver blocks, and maybe even nice wide receiver hold that allowed him to go. But our ability to just line up and be like, we're going to line up and we're going to at least get 3 yards or move the line of scrimmage a yard, we don't do that right now.
Well, but 2 things have happened since then. Bill Callahan's not here coaching offensive line anymore,
of course, which is
enormous.
Massive.
And then the other thing is for the majority of that time, you had that guy at 100%.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you don't have one of the 5 most talented people carrying the rock, and you don't have in their prime, well-oiled machine offensive line.
And even last year you had Kareem Hunt, who
hits it,
who just does that.
Yeah.
But identity is not what you're going to try to do every now and then and sprinkle in. It's like what we practice, what we believe in, what we talk about every day, what we rep every day. Because when I was coaching in Germany, we were trying to put in some of the pin pull stuff, and I explained to our offensive coordinator, this is not something that you just like show them on Wednesday. We walk through a couple times, and then you're going to run it successfully. Because if they just line up, it's easy to block those guys, right? But as soon as they move a little bit, because you're exchanging blocks, there's a lot of communication that has to happen. There's a lot of change that has to happen from the point the ball is snapped till I'm a guard, I'm pulling around. All of a sudden, the defense is changing a lot. It's not like zone running where those guys are going to a gap and you can easily pass it off because I'm either blocking with the guy to my right or the guy to my left. When you're pin pull, like the guy who's pulling can change at the last second. So you got to have a lot of practice and a lot of ability to communicate on the run. So let's say if we're running a pin pull to the right and you've got a nose guard who's shaded to the right side of the center. If the linebacker that combination between the guard and the center is going to go to normally in the zone moves over, now you can't pull the center anymore because he's too far behind the play. So even though you would like to maybe pull the center, now you have to reach the center and pull the guard because otherwise that guy's too far away. So you got to be able to communicate that. Well, now if that linebacker that they're comboing to moves back a little bit, now you can pull the center. So now you can block down and pull the center around. So like the number of combinations that you can have based on the front you get is very voluminous when you're running the pin pull scheme. And it's not so easy as just, hey, this is how they're going to line up. I mean, when you play against a defense like playing against the old Dick Duran 4-3 where, hey, this is where they lined up every time. They lined up in an over front. You knew exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's easy to throw a bunch of different stuff at it. But the defenses that you see in the NFL now today, they're so multiple and there's so much movement at the last second that you got to be really, really comfortable making those communications that you have to at the line of scrimmage to be able to get the right guy on the right guy.
So let's say you're running pin pull to the right.
Okay.
Right, and I have a remedial offensive line
There we
here.
go.
You're saying based on where these guys are, it could end up turn into a tackle guard or guard
absolutely.
center?
Like depending on where the linebackers are. So if you imagine pin pull starts with outside zone principles, like, all right, us two are blocking this down guy to that linebacker. Depending on where those guys line up, you have angles to be able to down block and to pull around. But those angles change as soon as that shade changes on the defensive line or as soon as that linebacker moves over. And so you could have two guys that are adjacent pulling if they're not covered up, for instance. If they're covered up or if they get a alignment that's too wide for somebody to reach, now you have to down block because you can't reach that guy with the backside offensive lineman, and now you got to down block and pull around that guy. And so that's where it all starts is you're trying to cut the defense, but where that cut happens changes depending on where the defensive line is and those linebackers. And you don't get that in the zone because it's like, hey, if they run out there, who cares? We'll just double team and block them and then push them out and the ball cuts behind.
Cut behind, right.
Yeah, it's not a song. It's a way of life.
Yeah, exactly. You're not defining where the ball is run in zone, whereas in pin pull, you're saying this is the alley outside of the tight end, so we need to get a down block somewhere, but then all the other blocks can be different. But that's why, like, when Kevin was running this scheme previously, like, we were really good at pin pull because we did it a lot. The running backs, they saw it. The communication at the line of scrimmage sometimes doesn't even have to be verbal anymore. It's just you point or you just know, you just look at the guy. Like me and Joel playing next to each other. If we had a pin pull to our left and there's a 3 technique and the linebacker was where he needed to be, like I didn't have to say anything because I didn't want to give it up to the defensive lineman, so he knew what the combination was. I just look at Joel. He knows everything's good. If it changes, everything goes to hell, then you maybe have to have a little bit more communication. Now you maybe have to include the center in it or your tight end. So it's a very complex scheme that you have to really major in to be good at.
And do you think we talked about the two parts of it, right? Some is the personnel that's out there. Some we've dealt with some injuries, and Joel's battling significantly this season. Had the back injury last week. But is that something that where a guy like Callahan is able to give you, because he just is who he is, better answers and better understanding of everything that you're going to see? What makes – let me just rephrase that.
Yeah.
What makes Bill Callahan, and why is it hard for anybody else, and I'm not saying anybody's done a bad job, why is it hard for anybody else to be able to do what he does?
Well, I think we're not having success this year just because we haven't majored in it, right? We've kind of had the shotgun approach to run schemes. It's like, well, let's try this. Let's try this. Oh, that's not working. Let's do this. RPO, inside zone, outside zone, power. Like you're trying to do everything where you kind of need to narrow that down, especially when you've got guys that haven't played together for a really long time. Like, the offensive line we had when it was me and Alex and Joel and Mitchell and Greco, like we'd played together long enough in enough schemes that it really didn't matter what we ran. We knew what the expectations were. We knew how to adjust when things moved. But when you got guys that are new in a new system, running new stuff, new quarterbacks, new running backs, like there's a lot of people that need to be on the same page that maybe don't necessarily know how to do that without repping it in practice a bunch of times. But I think what made Bill Callahan a great coach is consistency in communication, and every practice plan going back to March when they got together, there was a foundation, there was a process, it was step by step, and it was consistency in how it's being coached and what the expectations are, and then just getting reps at it and doing it every single day.
Does it help, too, when you have somebody who's so detail-oriented? When I say detail-oriented, I mean thumb placement, everything.
Right.
Like Kyle, I think of Kyle, like how he wanted your feet, the angle of your feet, the exact steps, all of that. Because I imagine there's probably some frustration from a player's perspective when you keep hearing this and you're like, okay, look, I'm getting it done, but it's not exactly how you want it, versus something that might be a little more free-flowing. Like, here's what we're trying to do. What's best for you to do that?
Yeah, I think overall the most detailed offensive line coaches are the best. When you're a veteran guy, you don't necessarily need that because you've already learned it and you know it. But I think having that level of detail is important. It's like my wife's coaching my daughter's 11-year-old basketball team. And too many times, I think in youth coaching, us as coaches, we feel like the kids can't handle it, so we don't tell them enough. But then they're out there wandering around because they're not playing or practicing with a purpose and intent. Like if you give a kid something to think about, like, hey, when you don't have the ball, I want you to go to this open area or set a screen for this person. Now they're thinking about doing something, and now all of a sudden things start working a lot better. But if you don't have the trust in your players and you don't think, oh, they can't handle this, I don't want to give them too much, then they're going to wander around being aloof like, my 11-year-old when she doesn't know what she's supposed to do. And I think it's the same thing on the offensive line. You want to give them the smallest possible details imaginable, and then they're at least thinking about it when they're doing it. It's like when you're shooting a gun or you're shooting a bow and arrow, they always talk about aim small, miss small.
Yeah.
Right?
I was thinking about it for golf.
Yeah. Same thing with golf, which you guys are much better golfers than I am.
He is, but
But like if you're aiming at a pie plate this big and you hit anywhere in there, your brain is thinking it was successful. When really, if you aim for like a tiny little dot and you miss by this much, you feel like you've missed, but you're over time,
tighter.
your average
Yep.
is getting a lot tighter. And it's the same thing with hand placement, foot placement, eyes. Like you give them the most specific detail possible because then they're at the line of scrimmage and that's what they're thinking about. It takes their full brain to be focused and zeroed and locked in on exactly what I have to do. And then that's how you get into that locked in flow state as a player, because every time I'm going to the line of scrimmage, I'm thinking about so many things. I can't possibly think about anything besides my job, and there's zero distractions. And then all of a sudden where you're missing gets a lot smaller.
It's probably also how when you see young guys or that are on our practice squad or whatever, when Bill was here, because it's the same thing, because there is so much detail, when they got thrust in, oftentimes they played great.
Yeah.
They were ready to roll.
Yeah.
Because it was ingrained. It's been built on, the foundation was built in March. But it's the same
and he was
thing
tough. Like, it drove him crazy.
He
but
demanded it.
It made him better.
But
Right.
then if everybody's at that level and they all know what's expected, then when somebody does go out, obviously there's a talent loss, but it's not as big because they're doing the same thing because it's demanded.
Yeah, and I think coaches that have been around a lot longer, you see a lot of offensive line coaches in the NFL that have had a lot of experience because they've done it so many times. They don't make the mistake, and this is a mistake that I made as a coach, being over in Germany as a first-time coach. Like, I didn't know exactly how everything was going to unfold through the whole season. So there was times that I would say, okay, you know how we were doing it in April? Well, we're going to change it a little bit. Now they have to relearn what they're doing. Whereas a guy like Bill, who's been doing it for 30 years or whatever, he's like, he knows exactly everything that's going to happen through the whole season. So he never forces his players to relearn any technique, any scheme, any eyes, hand placement, anything. It's always consistent because he's been doing the same thing forever and ever. But I will say on his behalf, he's not like the stuck in stone old guy that just is doing the same stuff that he did in the 90s. Like, he's willing to learn and understand that the game changes. And it was fun as I was studying in the offseason, a lot of his stuff from the Cool Clinic that Bob Wiley runs. And it's where all the offensive line coaches, they get together and they share techniques and modernizing the approach on the offensive line. It was cool watching Bill do his presentations and talk about how things have changed, how he's evolved as a coach, how he's coaching the outside zone different. He's coaching hand placement. And then this is the reason why, you get to see all that thing when he's doing those clinics. So it's cool to see the genesis of everything and how, even though he is a guy that's very detail oriented, he's been around for a long time, like, he still is willing to change and adapt as the game is changing.
Do you think part of that is not only is he an offensive line coach? I mean, he's been in this league and offensive coordinator. He's been a head coach.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that. He has such a perspective on the game.
Yeah, having that great perspective is awesome. Like, from coaching quarterbacks, being an offensive coordinator, understanding how the route timing and the depth meshes up with the quarterback's footwork, meshes up where the offensive line is blocking. Like, it just gives you a better decision-making ability when you're telling a guy one thing, because you're coaching on the offensive line 5 guys differently, but you don't have enough time to explain everything all the time to everybody. So you want to be able to give them one cue or one small thing, but you want to make sure that it meshes with what everybody else in the offense is doing.
Couple of roster updates for us. Running back Nick Chubb on injured reserved. Tight end Brendan Bates to the active roster from the Jets practice squad. The team
Cincinnati
signed,
kid.
Jacob Cabody to the practice squad as well, and released Cameron Latu from the practice squad.
And Riley Patterson, at least being reported elsewhere, Riley Patterson has been signed off of our practice squad to Atlanta as
I saw that.
Young-Wei Koo has landed on injured reserve, and he will now kick for them. So, a lot of
Good for him.
excitement. Good for him. 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 Browns kickers everywhere.
Back to D-Hop this week.
Back to D-Hop this week.
A couple other injury updates. Not expected to practice today. MJ Emerson with the concussion. Shelby Harris with the elbow. David Njoku with the hamstring. Cedric Tillman remains in concussion protocol, but is expected to continue to practice today.
It's been three.
It's been a long time.
3 games, and the initial one came on a Thursday, so it's been many days, and you wonder what's going on. It's
concerning.
Scary. It's concerning. It's concussions. Anything head injury, always concerning.
Did you watch Hard Knocks last night?
I did.
Yeah.
I watched our portions of Hard Knocks.
All right. Can I just say, did you see it last night, Hoff?
He hasn't watched it.
I'm ashamed to say I have not seen TV in a while.
He's doing Hoff things.
Did you watch it, Gibbe?
Milking the cows.
You have milk cows too?
I did
It's
not.
Unbelievable.
I did not
He
watch
was in it.
I got text
You were in
that
it.
I was in it.
You were in it. You were.
I
Congratulations
did
on all your
everything I
success.
could that day to not be in it and somehow finagled in.
Yeah, you look great. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Voice of Jim Donovan was in it.
Let me just do this.
We love that in our home.
What did you notice? And my kids noticed it. I didn't. What did you notice about the establishing shot of the 4 cities?
I don't know if I watched that because I was just looking for strictly us.
Okay. So there's all 4 cityscapes.
Oh, ours looked terrible. It was like mounds of dirt.
Really?
So
Did they use like the
I
salt
did see
mines
that.
down by
so they go the
the lakefront?
No, it was out like the boys go, Dad, that's not
I don't
that
even
doesn't
know
look
where
like
that
us
is.
at all. I think
There's
it's on the flats looking back towards
There's
downtown.
a bridge or a freeway over the
and
top, and there's like
mounds of
mounds
dirt. So like the Baltimore scene is the harbor.
It's beautiful,
right?
Yeah. No,
and
you're
then
right now.
they
Yeah, I
colored
did see
the,
that.
the water
Yep.
purple. The Steelers' view is, I would say, looking directly eastbound towards the V in downtown. So
Yep.
as the rivers split, it's like that, and it's black and like a gold. Obviously, they're working with the colors. And then Cincinnati is a skyline Cincinnati shot with the stadium in the background.
Same, right?
And looks great.
Yeah.
And ours is like the tonal is brownish.
Yep.
And it is a picture like looking at a freeway from
Like
down below,
overpass, yeah.
looking up at it with the city very deep in the distance. You see the Guardian Stadium, and then truly mounds of dirt. And it's faded brown. And Beamsy noticed it. He was pissed when he saw it. He's like, Dad, what is that?
Yeah.
And then they take the Baltimore shot wide, and it's like bright day in the harbor. And the boys are like, God, Baltimore is awesome. And like, it's all right. Let's settle down.
settle
like
down.
They did film The Wire there.
I was going to say,
okay?
you show them The Wire. Yeah.
Like, they're not holding up for that yet.
No, not ready.
I thought Denzel was awesome.
Gibbe cameo was great.
Gibby cameo was great.
J-Dub's cameo, good.
Very good. I thought that it was probably I watched all of it, so I thought like 2 straight weeks of Jamar Chase in the best possible light.
Agreed.
And looks like the most likable, good dude.
Yeah, last week with the kid.
Last week with the kid, and then today we was doing charitable work. His dad was in there a little bit. I thought that was good. And then the Denzel stuff for us, that's what the focal point was on Denzel.
Yeah, which was great. Walter Payton Man of the Year. That was all that one scene. You got Gibbe, you got J-Dubs, you got the Walter Payton Man of the Year. I was happy, and I didn't even catch it. Kayla caught it. When he came in, I guess he was coming under the auspices that I was doing an exclusive interview with him.
Yeah, and he's where'd Nate sit?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, all right, sweet. He knows about college football, Nate.
He could come in here. He could come in here one time with us. Would be lovely.
Yeah,
and then we could do it. Be
We'd have a
nice.
great- yeah.
That's been a long time since.
I mean,
that's
he
happened.
agreed to do it in
He did.
theory. So
Yeah.
why not? Let's do it in reality.
He did agree to do it in theory. It was interesting. It was a reminder from the Baltimore side about the season Lamar's having, just so that there's an understanding of that.
We talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, we did. And so they focused on that. And then the other thing, my other big takeaway from it was I don't see any scenario how Russell Wilson's not back in Pittsburgh next year.
No, and that it gives
From both sides.
That opens up Justin Fields to be free as a bird.
I guess I don't know what Russell's contract situation is.
It's just a 1 year, so they'd have
So
to
they would
redo
re-sign
it.
him or
They'd have to-
franchise or something?
Yeah, they'd
He has said on Hard Knocks this season, or maybe it was after Hard Knocks, but he has said that he believes Mike Tomlin is the greatest coach in all of sport, and he is a huge Mike Tomlin fan, and he has loved being a Steeler. So my guess is he would be more than happy to stay there.
Yeah.
And I think with his situation, he's probably made enough money.
Yeah.
He's got the spouse that's got a lot of money. I think for him right now, legacy is probably the highest priority. And certainly with that defense and the opportunity to come back and be better at year 2, I would think that he would probably want to be there.
Yeah.
So he is on a. Next. Yep. He is on a. Is this real? He signed a 1-year, $1.2 million contract with the Steelers. Is that possible?
Is that because he had been cut, so he had been guaranteed a bunch of money in salary already this year that the Broncos were going to pay?
Yeah.
And so any money that he makes from the Steelers would be offset, so he just signed the minimum. I'm just assuming.
I think that makes sense. Because
great thing to do on the radio.
He had signed a 5-year, $242 million contract with them. In 2024, he earned a base salary of $39 million while carrying a cap hit of $53 and a dead cap value of $107. So, yeah, he's still making $39 million from the Broncos.
He's not poor.
Yeah.
$1 million from the Steelers. So, yes, he is.
Could be the spot Kirk Cousins in next year if they can buy him out. He has a fully guaranteed deal. He has a full no trade clause. So the only way that Kirk Cousins isn't going to get his full money, 90 which of it he's already gotten, the only way he's not going to get the rest of it is if they cut him and then he can become a free agent and pick his own team.
Correct.
That's the power that he had when he did that deal. So any guesses on career net earnings for
who?
Kirk Cousins?
Immense. Probably one of the top ever. Because
if I had to guess,
rolling guaranteed for a long time.
He did those. He played on the tag forever in Washington, and then he did fully guaranteeds. In
$300 million?
You're right on it. 294.
Okay.
I was gonna say around there.
Yeah.
294.
I mean, I give
That's
him
living,
credit.
baby.
Two things. One, he's played the system. He understands the business side of the game, so I give him credit for that. But also, it seems like wherever he's been, though, he's been a great teammate.
They love him.
What he's
Everybody
doing
loves
right
him.
now, mentoring the backup quarterback that was picked in the first round, Michael Penix Jr.
Yep.
And doing a great job understanding, like, hey, they're paying me a lot of money. Yeah, they want me to go out and perform, but part of my duties here as a starting quarterback is to be a great mentor.
Yeah.
And so I think that you sometimes see the guys that are only in it for the money, trying to maximize it. Then it's like all about me when they get into the locker room. But for me, it seems like Kirk Cousins is pretty likable because, yes, it's about the money on the business side, but once he's in the building, he's just a team guy, and whatever I can do to help the team win, and I respect that.
And everything he does to play, because he has been battered and bruised, and everything we saw last year on the quarterback thing with Netflix was incredible. What he did
he was great
to get
How
back
could
on
you
the
not
field.
like him?
Yeah, he's an impressive dude.
And they loved him on the planes and all of that stuff. One big announcement earlier today by the Haslam Sports Group, Huntington Bank Field is going to host the Columbus Crew Inter-Miami CF match on Saturday, April 19th, 2025 at 4:30. Tickets will be available to the public on Tuesday, January the 14th at 10 a.m. Eastern. Supporters wishing to secure their preferred seats for the highly anticipated contest early, beginning Monday, January 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern, can register via www.columbuscrew.com/coming-to-Cleveland for pre-sale access.
All right,
Messi in Cleveland.
There you go. Well, be careful. Check the injury reports on those.
Yeah,
with him.
You never know.
Get me there.
Never
Get
know.
me there.
Never know. Lots of fun on the program today. We'll have a little bit of fun in the Christmas spirit. Coming up next, we'll get to meet the Cincinnati Bengals. We are off and running on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. We're brought to you by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Your game day this season with the Bally Bet Sportsbook app. Place your first bet at $25 or more. You get $150 back in bonus bets. Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to meet your Cincinnati Bengals. They are 6-8 on the season. They are third in the North. Zach Taylor, 43 up, 52 down, one tie in his sixth season with the Bengals. The Bengals last won 21-14 in October here in town. Last time out, they beat the Titans 37-27. For more details on who the Bengals are, and this is the tale of two sides of the ball, we turn to Dr. Z.
Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals, they can score the football. They've got the number one passer in the NFL in Joe Burrow. They've got the number one receiver in the NFL in Khalil Herbert. They just know how to light up the scoreboard. They have scored 27 or more points in 6 straight games, which is, when you think about that, that is pretty wild. The Browns have scored 27 points twice all season, by the way, both wins, one over Baltimore and one over Pittsburgh. They are on a 2-game winning streak, as you pointed out. Their last few, they go 37-27 over the Titans. Week before that, 27-20 over the Dallas Cowboys. They lose 44-38 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lose 34-27 to the Chargers. They lose 35-34 to the Ravens. They beat the Raiders 41-24. That is that stretch where every game was 27 or more points for them. They are prolific. They are dangerous. The offense is very, very good. As I mentioned, Joe Burrow right now, who is the NFL's all-time completion percentage leader at 68.1% this year, 68.5%, 3,977 yards, 36 touchdowns, 8 picks, a 107 rating. He's thrown 3 or more touchdowns in 6 straight games. He's got 300 yards passing in 4 of his last 5. Now, he does have an interception in 3 straight games, though. He's thrown for 3 or more touchdowns in 6 straight games.
Say it again.
3 or more touchdowns.
Yep.
He's thrown for in 6 straight games.
As a quick interjection, they need a lot of help. They've wasted really one of the remarkable seasons. And if their record were even inverted, he would be right in the middle of the MVP talk.
I mean, quite frankly, he should be. Where would they be? They would, without him, if they're running out there with Jake Browning, they might not win a single game this year. Then you've got Jamar Chase, who right now is trying to do what Cooper Kupp did most recently, which is win the Triple Crown. Leads the league 102 catches, 1,413 yards, and 15 touchdowns. His 15 receiving touchdowns, actually, he leads the league in total touchdowns. Nobody has more than his 15. He scored 8 times in the last 5 games. He has not gone back-to-back weeks. He did not score last week, but he's not gone back-to-back games without a touchdown since weeks 1 and 2 of this season. He's been great. In 9 games, T. Higgins is 50 catches, 669 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He scored in 4 of the last 5. And then they've got Chase Brown, who, following the injury to Zach Moss, which happened, I think, against us, if I'm not mistaken, he's got 1,150 total yards and 11 touchdowns of his own. Mm-hmm. He's been sensational. We'll see. Orlando Brown missed last week. Be good to see if he were not available. That would be helpful. They had to start Devin Cochran, an undrafted free agent left tackle. He gave up 4 pressures last week. Their first-round pick, Armarius Mims, is the right tackle. Then they've got veterans in the middle, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, and Cody Ford. That's their offense. Their offense, a lot of green as you look over here. Number 1 passing, number 10 total offense, number 5 scoring offense. Top 10 in fewest interceptions thrown with the 8. They're number 6 in 21 first downs a game. They're number 4 on third down. They're number 4 in the red zone. And then the opposite is their defense. 31st in sacks when they have a guy who has 12.5 and is leading the NFL. Trey Hendrickson has half of their 25 sacks, and now Sam Hubbard is out for the year, who terrorized the Browns in the first meeting.
Did you see how it happened?
On the touchdown, right?
Yeah.
He caught a touchdown.
On the touchdown, yeah.
Last week.
Mm-hmm.
Big man touchdown. Last time he faced us, he had a pick, a sack, and a forced fumble. I don't know if that's good. Feels like it's pretty disruptive. They are 31st in sacks. They are the 31st scoring defense. They're giving up 27.6 a game. They are 27th against the pass, 20th against the rush, 29th total, 28th on third down, 31st in the red zone, 31st in goal to go, and they give up 22 first downs a game, which is 30th. They are not good. They've got Hendrickson and B.J. Hill up front, who's been solid. Second level, Jermaine Pratt's our guy, stat machine, 125 tackles. They lost Logan Wilson, who had 104 tackles on the season, I think last week or 2 weeks ago to a knee injury. They've had injuries in the secondary, and frankly, the secondary has not been great. Cam Taylor-Britt leads the team with 3 interceptions and 14 passes defense, but he's allowed 10 touchdowns in coverage, which is the most in the NFL. They're starting on the other side a rookie 5th-rounder named Josh Newton. So I imagine the Browns will attack him. Geno Stone's got 3 picks. Mike Hilton has an interception that he got last week, was his first this season, and they're playing their 3rd-rounder from a year ago, Jordan Battle. Von Bell's not starting right now. They've lost Dax Hill, DJ Turner.
Yep. DJ Hill. No, Dax Hill. DJ. Yes, you have that right. Yeah.
Dax Hill, DJ Turner. Dax Hill was a 1st-round pick, and I want to say DJ Turner was like a 2nd-round pick, maybe something
Seems like
that.
Yeah.
And they really haven't hit on those picks has been their big problem. Miles Murphy was their 1st-rounder in 23, doesn't have a sack on the season in his 2nd year. But they haven't been good there. They have not been good. This is a game where you have to score, you have to outscore to win. By the way, that's true in every single game in the NFL. But this isn't a game where you're thinking that that's going to be like 13-10. This is you're going to have to put a lot of points on the board. And with our defense, the injuries we've sustained, all the people that are out. They're going to score. I mean, they're going to score, especially if we're down. If MJ is not available and you're down Newsome, Denzel will go on Chase probably. And then my guess is, you're going to have Cam Mitchell and Miles Harden are both giving up significant size at 5'11" and 6 foot to T. Higgins. I mean, that's a game you really want. MJ Emerson. He
need him for that.
Yeah.
It sets up for them. I mean, obviously a must-win for them. They're hanging on to dwindling playoff hopes, but they do get Denver next week, so that's a head-to-head one that they could take advantage of. So I think they get to 7-8 and then try to get to that game next week against Denver and have that matter. That's where they're
Nobody
at
wants
now.
to face them, but at the same time, you're not scared because they can't stop you.
No, I do think if they were a you would not want them to be a 7 and play that attack.
No, because if you're the
me-
Ravens, for example, you've beaten them, but it's been tough. Or if you're the Steelers, you've beaten them, but it's a
40
points.
Right. You have to play clean because of how they're playing offensively.
Yeah, if you're a team going up against a high-flying offense, you can't make mistakes, right? Because turnovers all of a sudden become the difference in the game and something like that. And silly, the ball bounces the wrong way type stuff, all of a sudden you lose to a team that you don't think on paper is all that good, but they just score so much, you have to be so perfect on offense.
Didn't you play in that crazy shootout? Was it 2007 with Derrick Henry? It was like a 55-50
Yeah, it was
game
my
or
first
something like
NFL
that.
win. It was at home against the Bengals. It was like 51-48 or something like that. But I mean, there's a lot of stress on your offense knowing that, dude, every time we touch the ball, we got to score a touchdown. And honestly,
is it comforting knowing though that the guys on the other side are like, come on and score?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of nice knowing that you probably should score a touchdown.
We want to let
time.
you score.
I would imagine in those scenarios, though, if you look over and your quarterback's the better one, you're like, I like our
chances.
I like our chances.
So if they were
they have not beaten one good team all year. Not one winning team with a winning. They beat Dallas, us. It's all
if
that.
they're the
There's not
7,
one.
it's either the Chiefs or the Bills.
Yeah, and I would rather play Bo Nix and Denver if I'm the Chiefs or the Bills than have Burrow come to town.
For sure.
Yeah.
Although that Nick Benito.
And even the same thing with
Nick Benito's a weapon.
Same thing with the Chargers because they just don't have the weaponry.
Yeah.
Like Jamar Chase could have 8 for 196 and 3 touchdowns.
And I think the scary thing about the Bengals, if you play them in the playoffs, is they're going to play with nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And when your offense is so good and your defense is so bad, they can take tons of chances on defense. They're like, hey, we haven't shown this package of 10 blitzes all season. Who cares if we get burned for a touchdown? They're probably going to score on that possession anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So they're going to throw a ton of crazy stuff at you. They're more likely to go for fake field goals, fake punts. They're more likely with the trickeration.
Oh, yeah.
They cause a lot of issues because if you're a good, consistent team on both sides of the ball, you're going to kind of play your game plan consistently from week to week. When you got one side that stinks, you have no idea what they're going to do because they're just going to throw stuff against the wall and hope they can make a game-changing turnover or a game-changing play because that's all it takes when your offense goes up and down the field every time.
If I do have to ask you real quickly because you mentioned Denver and I mentioned Nick Benito. By the way, I think if you intercept the ball out of the air, I realize it was a kind of a thrown back pass, and that give the guy a pick 6. To me, that should be another pick 6. I was just looking at it, wait, it said it only has one pick 6, but then they're saying that was a fumble return touchdown. It's a pick.
Yeah.
4-man, they play a 4-man front, Denver does. This guy's 6'3", 235. He's got 11 and a half sacks. He's having an unbelievable season. He gets a sack. Basically, he's got at least one sack in five straight games, and basically they played, 11 of the last 12. He's got pick sixes. Like, is that crazy? What would you be thinking if you have guys? He's 6'3", 235. He looks like a safety.
Is that like Elvis Dumervil? Wasn't he like that? Didn't he have that size?
Dumervil was like 250 though. Like he was 5'8", but he was stocky. He was built a lot more like James Harrison.
Okay.
This guy's
5'11",
I mean,
250.
the only guy I could think that would be sort of similar is like a Von Miller, because Von was only 230-ish. I want to say 235, but he had that speed and that quickness. But this guy's even smaller. I mean,
Von's listed as 6'3", 250. He's listed as 6'3", 240, but
yeah,
he's like 230. I mean, I literally talked to him after the game, and I felt like we were of similar size.
Yeah.
We are not of similar accomplishment or
I don't know.
athletic ability.
You've done quite a bit. You're
Well,
doing all right.
I don't have two
You put
pick
together a
sixes.
hell of a cameo. We know that.
I do an excellent cameo. Thank you.
All right, we'll hit our. We'll have a little fun with the holiday season coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Oh, there he is. Billy.
How come Uncle Billy?
Uncle Bill.
Uncle Bill. You got Billy Mack. You got Uncle Baby Billy.
Uncle Baby Billy.
I think if you're an uncle and a Billy,
that's a win.
You're probably going to be a pretty good character.
That's
I
a
had
win.
an Uncle Bill. He was a Toledo electrician.
Oh,
Head
maybe.
of the
I like the
IBEW in
sounds of
Toledo.
that.
Oh, man, yeah.
Uncle Bill
In
used
the
to go
union.
fishing with him on Lake
Nice.
Erie, drift and cast out of the Toledo Harbor when I was a kid. I loved it.
That's
Uncle Bill was
fantastic.
great. Uncle Wild Bill. He was a wild man.
Well, if you're
I think
Bill,
it
you
goes
have to
with
be.
it. It
As you
goes
can
with
imagine.
it,
Yeah.
Billy Mack
it's-
Wild, Uncle Baby Billy Wild.
It's Wild Bill, or it's Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
When they're little,
Yeah,
it's How's
that's
Billy
great.
the Kid do.
Love it.
Browns fans enter Hunting Bakefield quicker on game day with Express Access presented by Verizon. Also new this year, select concession stands will offer Express Access presented by Bud Light. Enroll for free. Go to the Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. Hello, Gibbe. Hello, Gibbe.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine. How are you
Good
all?
to see you. Not bad. It's going to get cold and gray now for 2 weeks, right? Is that where we're at?
2 weeks. How
Is
about
it
for
for
the
the
next
rest
like
of
3
2
months?
months? I don't
Like the sun comes back out March 1st, right about the time like daylight savings
Yesterday
kicks
was
back
nice.
in.
By the way, my kids are on a big kick to eliminate daylight savings. They hate it. And
Which
they're all
one do they
fired
want?
up because
No.
they hear.
They want the other.
They want the other. Everybody wants the other. We got it wrong.
Sorry, I've
Keep
missed this
daylight
conversation.
savings.
You like daylight savings.
Because you want it longer in the summer.
We're on
At night.
standard now.
This is standard time.
Get rid of standard.
Get rid of standard. Yeah, because
Yeah.
in the winter,
Right.
they want it to be light out when they get
course
home
they
from
do.
school.
We all
like
do.
everybody does. We
We all
want
do.
more light
Yes.
in the afternoon. Like it can be dark in the morning.
Yeah.
That's
So
no
we
big
need to
deal.
lead a campaign so that
exactly.
everybody understands that means you want to get rid of
Well, I think
standard time.
the
I think-
incoming administration has said that that's going to
Well,
be their
he
number
got
one
it backwards.
priority.
He got
He
it
flipped it.
backwards.
Oh, he flipped it.
So he
he got a
flipped
classic
it,
mistake.
And so he's like staying with that.
So we need him to
But his
understand.
cabinet is
his
with us.
cabinet's with us.
okay, good.
And
All
he
right,
wa-
he is-
I'm with you guys then.
Tweets of
And the
his
cabinet.
from 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Right. All are with
Are
us.
all with us.
But there
Okay.
was one last week that was
That
the
he said
other,
he was
and we
inverted.
just need him to just act like that
Yeah,
tweet
okay.
didn't
Just
exist.
pretend it didn't happen.
Nobody,
Fake news.
wants
Nobody
the
read
other
it.
thing.
Move
Nobody
on.
wants the
Yeah.
other thing.
Yeah. But we're all in agreement.
Everybody wants
More
it.
daylight at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. More of that.
More
Could you
of it.
imagine
Not
if all of
be
a sudden in
leaving
summer
work
it
at
was getting dark at 8?
4:45
If
and
we
it's
got rid
dark
of daylight
out.
savings time in summer, it would be dark
what's
at
that, Gibby?
7:30.
I cannot be leaving work at 4:45 and
It's
dark.
depressing.
No,
This
it's
is
depressing,
untenable.
dude. It
This
wears
is
on your
miserable.
psyche.
It's awful. It's awful. I agree. And it's dark when I take my kids to school in the morning anyway. It doesn't
So
make
they
a difference.
doesn't
went. They
matter.
went to do this in like the 70s, I want to say, and it didn't last because like kids were getting hit by cars at bus
I don't
stops
believe
in
Come
the
a long
dark.
way.
That's what I said. We've come a long way.
That did
Come
not
a long
really-
way.
Come on. let's
We've
be
come a
honest.
long way.
It's dark anyways.
How many kids are at bus stops anyway? Is that like maybe I'm just missing them? I don't.
They
see a lot-
are, but
don't
it's-
see a lot
I
of
don't
bus
think
stops.
it's
But we have
like-
headlights. Like
Yes,
have,
we do.
I
have
think it's
things
very
that allow
different,
us not to
dude.
hit kids.
Like
anymore.
when we were kids, there were bus stops and everybody was at the bus stop, and you could have like
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
was going
versus
down.
dropping
now
a
they
kid
come
off at
to
their
every
individual
house.
house.
They come to
Yeah.
your house.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still dark in the morning anyways. It
Exactly.
hasn't saved
Doesn't
us
change
from
anything.
morning darkness.
You've
It's
done
still dark.
nothing.
Yes, done nothing.
You've just ruined. You've ruined the evening.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay,
right.
so we're all
There
on
we
the
go.
same page.
We're on the same page.
We're
So
all
we
on the
want
same
permanent
page.
daylight savings time. Yeah.
So with the HOF in the building today, we wanted to just have a little holiday.
Let's
fun.
do it.
Let's
We're
do
a
it.
week away from with Christmas on a first Friday. Is it bigger than the best first Friday?
No, the ultimate first Friday remains the one
Night
heading
before
into
Thanksgiving.
into Thanksgiving. It's everything that you want it to be for so many reasons.
Yeah.
I think I like a New Year's Eve first Friday, a New Year's Day first Friday. I think those are wins, and we'll get that.
We're gonna get that. Sure will.
But Christmas for me is about survival.
Yes, we had this conversation
survival.
before the show.
Can I get through it?
Yeah, there's 30-some people coming to my house.
Yep.
How am I getting through it?
Yep. Are all the gifts going to get here? Like it's there's a lot going on. So I love it, but I also we got NBC turns 13 tomorrow. Bootsy turns
You
9.
have a teenager?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Bootsy
Boots,
turns
15
you are
today.
dead.
Boots
Bryce
today.
Nagamir,
Happy
15
birthday.
today, baby.
And
And he wanted some
Bootsy's-
sweet Jordans. I was very pleased. That's what he
Oh,
wanted for
cool.
his birthday.
There you go.
Love it.
Carolina blue. with
Gross.
black
It's a
swoosh.
beautiful color.
Gross color.
Yeah.
Bootsy is New Year's Eve. So I've got all of I have all the Christmases and a bunch of birthdays.
You
So
didn't do
you're
a good job
prolific.
planning that
March.
one out.
March is
my
a big
birthday.
month. March is a big month in the
My
Bishop
birthday.
household.
My
Yeah.
birthday and our anniversary.
Love is in the air.
Pretty direct line.
And then
I mean,
child.
that's it. That's how it works. Every 2 years.
There we go.
Another.
How about this one? So Annie's grandparents had 6 kids, and I think all 6 of them were born within like a 2-week span. And it was
Really?
9.5 months from their parents' anniversary.
See?
That's crazy. Within
we know what was going on in that farmhouse.
Man. Yeah, that's right.
Once a year.
Don't come
Here we go.
knocking.
Let's go.
That's almost as good as may you rest in peace, the great Zago, the namesake of Lil Zogs, the great Zago. Danny and Krista, his 2 kids, same birthday, 25 years apart, different mothers.
Wow.
He had a type.
Excuse me?
I mean, that
he had a day where
he had a moment where he was locked
every
in.
quarter century,
He was ready to go.
firing on all cylinders.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, Danny and Christute got the same birthday.
Well, on that note,
Yep,
my
let's do it.
task for you gentlemen in this segment
Yep.
is to rank your top 10 Christmas foods served in your house on Christmas. If you don't have 10,
I was saying I
you
don't
got
have
5.
10.
We're
I
going
don't
to do
either.
top
I
5.
That's
That's fine.
I have 5 things that we
But
do.
all right, we'll go top 5.
I included my apps to get to.
So
to
the
get
top
to 10.
5 Christmas foods served in your respective homes on Christmas. We'll go 5-1.
Oh man, now you're making me go down to 5.
All right. Bo, do you want to go first since you have 5?
I mean, I make the same thing every
So do I.
year. So it's I do it. It's at our house. It's lovely. I go with a meat. So I did your prime rib last year. It was a delight. I've done a tenderloin before.
What are you doing this year?
I think I'm going to do tenderloin this year because with the kids, it's just a little bit easier for everybody to navigate. Because when I slapped a hunk of prime rib like on the boys' plate,
Oh baby,
like Bootsy he's not sawing into that. So then I'm cutting it.
This is my spirit animal.
No, he crushes it, but in order to eat
Someone
it,
else needs to
It's
cut
I
that.
gotta
tough for
cut
kids
it.
to
Yeah,
cut.
yeah.
You
It
gotta
is.
forget how hard it is to
It is.
work the
Yeah.
knife
they
fork combination
can't.
there.
He's cutting his own thumb off. So I
That's
always
why
go.
you keep the bone on. Just go,
I always go. So I'm going to go prime rib. Then I go king crab legs.
my!
We go baked potatoes.
What time should I come over? Holy cow.
I might have to get 2 boxes from Costco
Holy
off
cow.
if you come.
By the
Um,
way, you want to
just-
talk about inflation?
I know.
Price
Tell me
of
about
king
it.
crab is
Not cheap.
out of
No.
control.
And then
Go
there's
with the
usually
imitation.
Brussels,
Out of control.
Brussels or asparagus, some sort of a green thing. Then there's a salad, and that's it. And then the only dessert that we make is one that my mom made, which is like it's like a cream cheese, Cool Whip based, like a cookie crumble crust with a chocolate like French silk pudding layer, and then whipped cream and,
Like
and
a
nuts on
trifle,
top.
kind of.
Yeah, my mom made it the whole time. My wife has the recipe from my mom, and so that we
That's
make
awesome.
that every time. That's what we do.
All right.
Hoff, what do you got for us?
So I got the green light this year to serve the Six Springs Farms Hall of Fame brisket off
baby.
steer
That's
that we
a
slaughtered
win.
this summer. Because we'd always been the pork tenderloin family. You know, we always did fettuccine Alfredo, which is delicious. The kids always gobble it up. And then the pork tenderloin, which is great and everything. But we wanted to elevate it this year a little bit, and I wanted to have a little bit more involved in the meal rather than pork tenderloin. They're pretty easy to make. You can make them a million ways, and they're always good. But we got like a 16-pound brisket, so part of it is me thinking forward, like, okay, I got a few more
Sandwiches.
days. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. When the
yes.
kids are not in school, where I'm going to be munching in the kitchen, and to have that leftover brisket is elite. It's epic. I cannot wait to go fry it the next morning and have some eggs with it.
I was
'Cause
going to say,
if
little
you
egg and
refry it-
brisket.
oh yeah,
little
with
hash.
a little butter, brisket, yeah, hash browns. Oh my gosh, it's amazing! I can't wait. I'm very, very delighted for it. And then we do like a green bean casserole on the side, garlic bread to go with the fettuccine Alfredo. We get like a big loaf of French bread, cut it in half, butter, olive oil, garlic, salt, and then you put it in the oven with tin foil and you bake it. It's really good.
It's a delight.
Yeah, and then we always did Christmas cookies. We didn't do a pie or a cake or anything like that. My grandma, she was, I feel like, the OG of doing like Christmas cookies. From like December 1st through Christmas, she would bake like 40 different types of
Yeah.
cookies, like 3 sheets of it. Always the oven was full every day, and then they would store it up in their attic because it was cold up there, and they'd bring them down, and it'd be a big like charcuterie board of cookies.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I loved it.
A
My
charcuterie
2
board.
favorite were the Hershey Kiss on the peanut butter
Yeah, sure,
blossom,
of course.
right?
Yeah,
One of my favorites, and then the Andes Mint that was melted in the middle of like the chocolate cookie. Those were my 2 favorites that I always look for. But they had like little like caramel popcorn, like goo gadget dealiops. They're
She was like crumble
amazing.
cookies before crumble
Yeah,
cookies.
it was amazing, and they were just little
gotta-
bites. They were
That's
really
got to
nice.
be from where and I realize a great many miles between where I grew up and where you did, but the Christmas cookie spreads
Yeah.
Oh,
were
yeah.
a fixture of my.
We had
life.
that at my grandma's.
It was just
my
like
nanas.
you said, like
Yeah.
one after another, just wheels of them.
And the cool thing was, it was like the appetizer and the dessert.
Yeah, it was,
because
'cause you eat it-
you're
They were
sitting
just
around.
out, yeah.
Like you're sitting around at 4:00 before the meal, and here comes Grandma with her like
Right.
4-foot-long platter of cookies that you're eating before you go and have dinner.
We always had the ones that had the Hershey's Kiss, like
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the
In
peanut
there.
butter blossom, delightful.
I should tell you we're on 850 ESPN Cleveland, WKNR Cleveland, a good Karma brand station.
Zagura.
All right. So we usually, for the app spread, we've got some sausage stuffed mushrooms. We'll usually
I'm
have
sorry,
some.
what did you say? Sausage?
Yeah, the sausage, the sausage.
Oh, I'm like, what is this?
You're like, what is
Miracle
this?
food
new
I've never
meat?
tried. I must try this immediately. It's
You
French.
you can come. Yeah, you can come have some of the sausage. Duck quesadillas, little mini duck quesadillas that you can
Oh my goodness.
pick up and
do you
have.
fry like the whole duck breast in like a cast iron?
I
pan, or
will
what do
have
you
to
do?
give credit to Metropolitan Market on
Okay,
the east
all right,
side.
yeah.
They have an
Pre-order.
incredible
Yeah.
frozen appetizer section.
Yeah.
Their stuff much.
Corporate card, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And then either shrimp or a lobster cocktail
course.
with the Elmo's cocktail sauce. That's
Elite.
always out there. Then we'll go the meal itself. It's the same every single year. There's a Caesar salad. Now, Miss K has gotten very good at the homemade Caesar. Obviously, this
Oh,
year
she's
that
making
won't.
the dressing.
Obviously, she has, but not this year.
this year,
Not
no.
this year. No. The
Anchovies
egg-
or no anchovies?
Oh yeah, there's paste in there. Oh yeah,
Okay,
for
paste,
sure.
okay.
You better believe
Beautiful.
it. And then the meal is quite simply, it's all about the king of the meats. So we've got 2 prime ribs, one that's about 10 pounds, one that's about 5, and the 5 one is for my father-in-law who doesn't like rosemary.
What?
So he gets one that's made with sans rosemary, and then
We're
the other
still
one.
doing this?
The other
Still
one,
doing
yeah,
it.
I'm very nice son-in-law.
You're a
Very
good
nice.
boy.
Very good boy.
You're a very
Some
good
would
boy.
say. Some would say the best. Not me, but some. And then on the side, we're gonna have some roasted garlic mashed potatoes. Get some actual good roasted garlic and really mash it up into a nice paste to get it in there with those mashed potatoes. A little ghee in there, and you really dress it up nice. Then some just simple frozen peas and pearls, my favorite. Pearl onions, peas on the side, and then I put this as its own item, the au jus, because I take out of the bag and then get some red wine, get some Worcestershire sauce, get some more sprigs of rosemary in there. Shh, don't tell anybody that is in the au jus. And make a beautiful au jus to dip the prime rib and, quite frankly, the mashed potatoes. And I like it on the peas and pearls. And then, yes, I will have prime rib for a few days, and it will be glorious. Dessert-wise, I was trying to think. I mean, my mom is listening. I'm sure she is. She'll text me. I don't recall us having a consistent Christmas dessert, though. I don't recall one being consistent. Typically, if they ask me, it's going to be something banana.
Yeah.
Either a banana cream pie or a banana pudding or a bananas Foster ice cream.
If somebody ever made a bananas Foster ice cream, if that existed, that would be that'd really be
it
doing
exists in my it exists in my freezer and
Mine too.
tenfold at this moment right now.
Oh, wow.
Can't
Had a
get
good-
enough.
Now we know
Had a
why
good-
there's a shortage.
Well,
I don't know how
Sorry.
you.
It's like
I don't know
COVID.
how
You're buying
you
a ball of
navigate it.
because as soon
Foster
whenever
ice
I'm
cream.
in that area, I go and I buy every single one, and then I have a freezer that is starting to become.
No, I don't know how you're only having one bite.
So I do one scoop.
That's incredible.
How do you have that discipline?
I don't understand
I
it.
can't have
One
that.
scoop. Everybody knows.
Because
the
I,
rules.
I think we can agree with that specific ice cream,
Oh,
as
so
would be
good.
with many. Not all bites are the same, though.
No, and I
So, like, if you net one that doesn't have the accoutrements,
I always make sure I get a little cream, but every now and then. But then it's just the mouthfeel, and it's just like having almost like a great. But what are those called? Now and later. It's like an old school banana
Right.
now and later. Oh,
it's a delight.
good now. It's good later.
It is a delight, even though it melted. I mean, I lost
Oh.
it, but it's fine.
It
It's fine.
reconstituted
It
because it's a champion.
reconstituted because
Okay,
it's a champion.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, are we good on the fridge these days with the crab legs and everything coming? I'm
Well,
knocking on wood. Are we good?
So
Is your fridge fine?
It better be because
I
that's
had
like
a-
putting gold bars in. your
I know we
fridge right
lost
now.
a whole half box last time
no.
it happened.
Oh, man.
I had like one of the freezers you had like at your grandma's house as a kid, with like 100-pound, like it was like a coffin loader. Though.
Yeah, you had to really
Boom.
boom. Yep.
like it would
Yeah.
boom.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now they're one of those ones that when I was a kid they said don't ever get in that because you'll die.
Yeah.
So my wife wasn't crazy about it, and that was the one that we lost everything in. And so when we renovated the garage and put a bunch of cabinetry and nonsense, when that happened, then there wasn't room for it in there, so we replaced it with. So we have a couple of refrigerators, but they are not as reliable as that sucker was. They are not. So we have to have a real discussion about which can be trusted.
Yeah, you're talking about prime.
Don't you feel like it's binary with refrigerators? You either trust them and they run all the time, or you get rid of them immediately. I just
I'm
can't imagine having like a refrigerator that works 90% of the time.
So
Then it's not working any.
like unless you're putting beers in there or something
we
like that,
put the
like it's completely worthless to me.
Yes.
that's it exactly. So what you just described is my problem. We bought one to put in the garage, but when it gets too cold, it stops working because it tells itself it doesn't have to. That's how absurd it is. So that's what we lost all the freezer stuff.
boy.
The refrigerator's fine. So the guy goes, well, they're coming out to fix it. And he's like, if I were you, I'd probably just put beer and wine or beer and pop or whatever in this and water. And I'm like,
Well, I didn't buy it
what,
for
what-
just
that,
beer
that's-
pop.
that was not the point. This is not why we got plenty of places to store those things.
Yeah.
Fail.
Fail.
Abject fail.
Soda.
All right.
You
All
need
set?
a walk-in cooler. I just did that at my house. Best decision ever.
Of course you did. Of
It was so worth it.
course you did.
And we even got a little freezer in there too.
Like
so.
a restaurant, like
Walk-in cool, yeah.
Like-
Like it used to be a door that went outside to like this random like alcove that came off our deck, and I'm like, all it does is collect leaves. Like when the wind blows, it just piles up leaves. I'm like, let's turn this into a walk-in cooler because when you got friends and family over for Thanksgiving, or we got a pontoon boat we take out in the summer in Madison. Like you got the big cooler stuff, you got the tray of food and stuff, and trying to find places to fit it into your fridge all the time is super annoying. And so we're just like, hey. When we're in Germany, builder, put in a walk-in cooler. We're going to be very happy. We've been
I have
more than
questions,
happy.
too. Yeah.
can
Bo.
you access it from both outside and in?
Not from outside, but it's
Only
right next
in
to
the
our
house.
garage. So right when you walk in the garage, it's right there. So you can take stuff in and out. Yeah, it's amazing. Very
Bishop
happy with
is
it.
thinking. The Bishop
yeah.
estate might be getting
It's so
enough
worth
for
it. And
him.
actually, it's cheaper than you think because you just get like one of those big compressors that you would have like on a commercial unit. And then as long as you insulate it really well, you put like a freezer board or whatever it is, and you put good insulation on it, and it'll keep it very nice and cool, and you can put whatever you want in there. And you can even put a freezer in there.
Give me the ceiling. What's our ceiling height in this?
8 foot.
So
It's like-
are we hanging pieces of a steer in there?
No, not at home. Yeah, we've got the one at the farm that we've hung our steer quarters in. But at home, it's mostly just like
Just in case you want to
normal
get in there,
foods.
Rocky Balboa,
Yeah.
get a little sparring session in there, tenderize the meat a little bit.
unbelievable.
If you come over, we could try it.
We could try it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
I'm in.
All right. Well, some news and notes around the league coming up. We'll also we're doing higher, lower. Oh my gosh, we got all sorts of things. Big fun coming your way. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Medical mistake caused you injury? Call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to go around the league, presented by Leaf Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. Michael Penix Jr. going to start moving forward for the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins goes to the bench. If the Falcons release Cousins with a post-June 1 designation, they would have $40 million in dead money in 2025, $25 in 2026. If they trade him, the $27.5 million base guarantee would transfer over to the acquiring team. Falcons would be responsible for the rest of it. No, I mean, it's going to take – he has a full no trade, so – they will write him a check. If they don't want him back next year, they'll write him a check and he'll be a free agent.
Yeah, they're going to cut him.
There'll be a market.
Wonder if he's cooked, though. I mean, that's the hard part about it is he's not a spring chicken. We know that.
He's like 36, right?
Yes, but coming off of that injury, and I mean, you look at this season, and it was almost kind of like he hit a wall. He had a stretch where he was going pretty well. He had the 509, 4 touchdowns. Then he had a 276 and 4, 223 and 3. Since then, it's been in his last 5 games, Kirk Cousins has thrown 1 touchdown, and he has thrown 9 interceptions. 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions. And they've got Drake London. They've got Kyle Pitts. They've got Bijan Robinson. He's leading the league with 16 picks. His air yards per attempt is a career low. His yards per completion is near a career low. Interception rate high, obviously. Just his completion percentage at 67. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's cooked or not, but it just has not been good. His quarterback rating, this would be the lowest it's been since he's been a real starter since 2015.
True, but also a situation such as the offense that we play, and I'm not doing that show today, but that would be a situation where
it feels
it would
like
fit.
It.
Right,
yes.
Like his strengths would fit with what
you
we
wonder.
Used to be
the
offensively.
Question that I would have about Kirk Cousins coming here prior to the dome being built is: does he have the arm strength to play in the AFC North? Because he's been a guy that's been consistently better indoors than outdoors.
Yeah.
I mean, even Drew Brees at the end of his career, when Drew Brees was still elite, his indoor-outdoor splits were robust.
Yeah.
And you would not have the benefit of being indoors often with the Browns. System knows it like the back of his hand, and we'd go back to running our stuff or Kevin's stuff. But you just wonder about that, how it's hurt him. So in that stretch I told you about where he's really been struggling, all of them, well, 2 of them were outdoor. I guess actually only 1 was outdoors. So that makes me even more concerned because in this stretch where he's been bad, at New Orleans, dome, at Denver, where he was bad, not a dome, home for the Chargers was a dome, at Minnesota was a dome, and at Vegas was a dome. I mean, they didn't even score a touchdown.
Yeah. Strange.
I don't know. I think
Penix will do well there. I liked him as a college player. I think he'll be all right.
I just think if you're an organization that you were coming into this draft and you're saying to yourself, okay, we want to get Michael Penix, why did you sign Kirk Cousins? And if you signed Kirk Cousins, why wouldn't you have used that pick on, say, Rome Odunze or something, or you had your pick of the best defensive player in the draft, something that would have helped that team? Because that team, when you sign Cousins, you're saying we're doing this for now. This is done for right now.
Right now.
And when you have a first-round pick and you don't use that for now in a right now season, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I think it speaks that the front office probably wasn't on the same page when they all first got there and they didn't know the direction they were going to headed. And they were listening to a lot of different people, put their 2 cents in, and they really didn't know who they're going to hitch their wagon to, right?
And to me, nothing against Raheem Morris, but I cannot believe that. I don't believe, in fact, I'll say that. I don't believe that this team would be equal or worse off if Bill Belichick were the coach. I think they would be better. I think they would be winning their division.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I would agree with that. Adam Schefter reporting the Titans are making a switch at quarterback as well for Sunday's game against the Colts. Mason Rudolph. Well, we need to see more of Mason Rudolph. We're not sure what he is.
Crazy how long he's kind of, been able to keep. Goes a 3rd-round pick in 2018.
Little Chase Daniel to him.
He definitely is hanging around. Last year with Pittsburgh, he was actually pretty good, 3-0. Believe it or not, his career record as a starter, now he had the benefit of being with the Steelers, 9-6-1, 63% completions, 25 touchdowns, 16 picks, career rating of 86. Last year with the Steelers, he was 3-0, threw for 719 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a rating of 118.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence surgery to repair an AC joint injury in his non-throwing left shoulder. He should make a full recovery in time for next season.
I'm not going to compare myself to Trevor Lawrence at all when I say what I'm about to say.
But here we go.
Here we go.
I too am an elite athlete, and I can tell you.
After I battled a giant in the squared circle, brother, I did come out of it with an AC injury to my left shoulder, which was very painful, and I had a slight deformity. That bone pushes up, and you can see it. I was then, from that point on, not enduring any contact on my body of a physical nature, certainly not playing in the NFL. When Trevor Lawrence suffered this injury, there were, and would do press conferences in a T-shirt, it looked like he had a phone sticking up on his left shoulder. I can't even imagine to then go and try to play football.
Yeah.
The pain, insane. He is a warrior. He is a tough hombre, and obviously things around him have been very chaotic. It feels like kind of throughout his career there. But when somebody said, "Oh yeah, he needed significant," like he needed surgery. Duh, he needed that right when it happened, and he was still trying to play. I mean, it was like literally a fist on his shoulder was sticking up.
And anytime you move your arm at all,
you can't.
Extreme pain.
You can't move it. This
so much pain to the point where you have no strength.
Yeah, you can't do this.
Yeah, I had
impossible.
Shoulders. The only thing that was healthy on me during my career was my shoulders. But of course, weightlifting injury last year, I had an AC joint sprain, and I didn't know what it was because I didn't have doctors like you do when you're playing in the NFL. But it bothered me for like 6 or 7 months until the doctors in Munich started helping me out, and I started getting treatment on it and finally got better. And now I'm actually using my arm again. But like the pain that I was in and the lack of mobility and strength that I had, and I didn't need surgery, was
same. This is
ridiculous.
What I'm saying.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Same.
So the fact that he needs surgery on that means it was worse than what we had, and we could barely function.
And we weren't trying to play football.
And we weren't even trying to play football.
No,
yeah.
we're just trying to be like, can I get a little shoulder press action over here? Come on.
I mean,
I couldn't do these. I could not do these. Like physically incapable of lift 10 pounds.
10.
Impossible.
That was it. Gibby, you want to do a little power ranking here? You've given us a homework assignment.
Yeah, we can do it real quick.
Or you want to do a break?
Look, let's do it real quick, and then if we need to stack, we can stack, and then we'll combo the next two segments.
Right, you got
How
it,
about
buddy.
that?
Well, I like it. I like where your head's
Power rankings, NFL's top 10 in the NFL with 3 games to play. Each of you should have your own list. We'll start at number 1. Who's the best team in the NFL with 3 games to play? Joe Thomas, start us off.
I like the Kansas City Chiefs. I think their experience, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that's a combination that I'm never going to bet against. And they've got one of the more underrated defenses in the NFL. I think obviously Browns fans saw it last week, but I think they're a team that can – and I'm saying top 10 as who are these teams ranked in order of who could win the Super Bowl, right? Not necessarily where they were during the season or their average of how good they've been. This is right now, who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl? I think the Chiefs are the leader in the clubhouse.
I did it the same way you did, Hoff. Through that, I viewed it through that prism, not necessarily who I think is playing the best right now, because I don't think Kansas City's playing the very best football right now, and I don't know what's going to happen with Mahomes and his ankle. Although it sounds like he's going to play, so I did the assignment like you did. I have Kansas City 1 as well.
Segura.
I got the team that beat them. The Buffalo Bills at number 1. Kansas City. I got to be honest with you. After watching them yesterday, they're not that good. They just know how to win. I'll give them that. And when we get to the playoffs, perhaps they're just slow playing it. They're saying, this is all I need to do to win. But they're a lot of kind of fluky things at the end of the games away from having 6 losses. You can't win 15 straight one-score games. At some point, that Bill's going to come due. That's all I'm saying. And Buffalo, by the way, beat them. Buffalo smoked them. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. Stone silence.
I'm waiting because we got to go to number 2 right now.
We'll see what happens when we get to January. It's just the bet. Maybe it doesn't work.
If anybody has a comment, please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know.
So if I'm going to go for number 2, then I can piggyback and transition here like a Big B professional. I have Buffalo number 2, and the reason I have them 2 and not number 1 is because to me, when you win in the playoffs, it's all about style, right? Like your ability to win close games because you can spam the matchups that are in your favor that maybe the other team doesn't do well. And even if you're really, really good at one thing or you got one great player, like eventually a team's going to be really good at that thing that you are also good at, and they can kind of take it away, and then it becomes more of an even matchup. And I think that it makes you a better team throughout the season to play in a lot of close games. I think I look back to the New England Patriots when they went on that undefeated string and then lost in the Super Bowl. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, being that they've played in all these close games and that Mahomes hasn't played well, bodes well for their playoff hopes because they know how to win. They believe in themselves. And more likely than not, Patrick Mahomes is going to play better than he is right now because he's not playing great football, but they're still winning. And so for me, the balance that the team has and the fact that Mahomes is more likely than not going to just play better than he has at this point, that's why I had them number 1. And the reason I had Buffalo at number 2 is the same reason, because Josh Allen is Superman.
Yep.
He's the MVP of the league right now, which is great for them. But at some point, if you have a bad Sunday in the playoffs, it's over, right? If he goes back to Josh Allen that we've seen in years past where, he's trying to be Superman and he throws a couple picks, he has a fumble. Like some of the things that are impossible
if he has an average
to do,
game, it's over.
If he has an average game, they're out.
Yep. Yeah, I have Buffalo second too, and don't need to be redundant. I just think their margin for error is less.
Segura, who do you have at number 2?
The Detroit Lions, although I'm very concerned about all of their injuries. But they are still –
bold move, God.
They are excited. Bold move. They're great. They
were great.
They were. I
were great. There was so many injuries.
They do have a lot of injuries.
Number 3, HOF.
So this is probably biased because I'm doing the Monday night game, Green Bay Saints, but I've got Green Bay number 3. And my argument is because I think they're a very, very well-balanced team, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They run the ball extremely well, and Jordan Love is playing fantastic football since their bye week, since he got healthy after the knee injury. Very, very few mistakes. And I think running the ball, playing good defense, not giving up the big plays, being able to take shots in play action and not making mistakes on offense, I think that's a really well-balanced formula for success throughout the playoffs.
You have to tell me I love the Packers. I don't have them 3, though.
I have Philly 3. I think it's really set up for them to be the number 1 seed in the NFC when you look at their schedule juxtaposed to Detroit's and Minnesota's. They're pretty healthy. They have a couple of different ways they can hurt you. So I have Philly 3.
I have Philly 3 as well. I like their big trio.
So,
A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon, Jalen. I think they're a
Shameless-
good team. They haven't lost since the bye.
Shameless plug, you're doing Westwood 1 Monday night, Mr.
I am, yeah. Kevin Harlan, my
Nice.
first
Oh,
opportunity
baby.
to work with the
legend.
legend.
That'll be great.
Yeah, of
He's got
Wisconsin's
Wisconsin
finest.
ties, right?
Yeah, he's from Green Bay, and
Yeah.
his
Yes.
uncle or his dad was the president forever. Bob Harlan, I think was his name. But
his daughter married Wisconsin.
yeah,
Sam,
oh man,
hell of a player.
yeah. Unfortunately, I
Played in
can't
the
remember his
league for a
name. He was a great
while.
player. I think he's playing over
Bouncy.
in London right now. Yeah, like a tall, skinny white
Yeah,
guy, outside
Sam
player.
Decker?
Sam Decker.
Sam
Thank
Decker,
you.
yep.
My gosh. I love the Badgers. Can't remember his name. Not so good with names that I haven't thought about in a while. But yeah, his daughter is like an ESPN personality. I think. But I'm excited to work with him. I mean, he's a legend. He'll be one of those guys. I'll tell my grandkids, hey,
Yeah, he's all time.
Kevin Harlan, I got to work with him on
Yeah,
Monday
for
Night
sure.
Football in Lambeau Field, which as a kid that grew up in Wisconsin, pretty special.
Pretty
So
cool.
my dad and my son are going to come to the game. Got him sideline passes. So
Oh.
Christmas present. I'm the hero right now. So
That's a
I'm going to relish that for a little while.
HOF, number 4 for you in your power rankings.
Yeah, now I got Philly. And the only reason I didn't have them ahead of Green Bay was because I just feel like this is a team that can easily fracture if things are not going well. We saw all the controversy between A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. And, when things are going well, they're going to be tough to beat. But in the playoffs, things don't always go well, right? It's not smooth sailing and a boulevard of green lights through the playoffs. And so I just worry that when things get tough, they're the team that wants to start bickering and yelling at each other, and pretty soon the clock will be at 0 and they lost, and they didn't even realize they just gave the game away.
Yeah, I had Baltimore here. Obviously, deficiencies defensively, but what Lamar Jackson has turned into as a passer is something I don't think anybody thought possible. Certainly, remember all the big hullabaloo. What should they do? How should they pay him? Yes,
Todd
pay him and then
Monken,
some.
baby.
Yeah, and they should whatever they need to do to keep Todd there, do it. But I had Baltimore here.
I've got Kansas City at 4. Obviously, I like them, but I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. And you guys can throw this in my face. When they three-peat, they are not winning the Super Bowl this year.
Well, you did pick us to win the Super Bowl.
First of
Fair.
all, I don't believe I don't believe that's true.
Fair.
Is that true?
When was that, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
Oh yeah, I did.
HOF, number 5 for you in the power rankings.
Yeah, I got Detroit.
It's my job, dude.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's understandable.
I did
but
have
we still
Green
really
Bay.
had fun
Understands.
into it.
Everybody
I
understands.
did have Green Bay in the NFC
I like it.
Championship.
I like that one. I got Detroit. I think they're a team that they're easy to love. They're very well balanced. Goff obviously playing great, but the injuries is why I knocked them down. Without the injuries, they're number 1 in my book. But all the injuries they have, it's hard for me to trust a team that's dealing with so many season-ending injuries to key positions down the
They have
stretch.
20 people on IR.
It's too much. So I don't have them on my list yet. I have Green Bay here at 5.
They're
Pretty
still,
remarkable
though-
to be able to go Favre, Rodgers, Love over 40 years.
Here's the thing I'd say about
Crazy.
Detroit, though. You still have Goff. You still have Amon-Ra, Laporta, Jamison Williams, and Gibbs. Like, you still have your offensive core is very much there.
It is, but the defense is ravaged. And the loss of Montgomery is pretty big too.
It is from the physicality
the
and
physical side of it.
and the
It's
playoffs.
there's just the margin for error is just not there for them anymore.
I also think that what makes Dan Campbell great also can undo him. And I think they lose. The Bills, Josh Allen played great that game, but he also made some decisions that I think hurt them. And if you go back to the NFC Championship game last year, some of those decisions hurt them.
And you lose your margin for error when you lose 20 people in your two deep.
Yeah, exactly.
Then your dumb decisions, if they are those, they're not as
You
easily
guys have-
coverable.
And
Detroit
you got
and Green Bay 5. I have
inexperienced guys
Baltimore
playing.
5.
All right, Joe, give me 6 through 10. I'll just have
I've
you guys
got
do 6 through
Minnesota,
10.
Pittsburgh, Baltimore, the Rams, and the Chargers. And I would say out of all those teams, the team I wouldn't want to play if I'm in the playoffs and I'm saying, okay, got to play one of these teams. Who do I not want to play? I would say I don't want to play Baltimore because Lamar Jackson could go off and beat anybody in the league. And
That's
I don't
why I have him.
I don't know about any of those other teams if they have that one guy, that one dude that can just take over.
Yeah.
But yeah, Baltimore without a crappy defense might be the top team in the league.
Yeah, I think I had Baltimore 4. 6 through
I had
10
5.
for me: Detroit, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Rams, and Houston.
Zigaro?
Detroit, Pittsburgh,
Minnesota,
LA
Rams, and Houston. Yeah.
And I have Green Bay 6, although I like them. I think there's a little demarcation from 6 up. Minnesota 7, Pittsburgh 8, Houston 9, and I'll put Cincinnati 10. Do I think they're going to the Super Bowl? No, but when Joe Burrow's playing this well, I don't think anybody wants a piece of them.
Nobody would. Yeah. Do you think the Rams could be the NFC version of them? It's not to that level, with just McVay and Stafford, Nakua, and Kupp.
I like the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams would have been, for me, the next ones. The next 3 would have been Rams, Chargers, Denver,
Yeah.
Washington, next 4.
Deep, yeah. The new Rumpke Recycling Resource Center helps feed the circular economy by supplying Ohio companies, others in the Midwest, material they need to put you in the place to put your bins to good use. To learn more about the facility and how you can recycle more, visit rumpke.com today. All sorts of, we got higher, lower next. We got some Christmas cocktails next. It's going to be fun. Much more to come. Cleveland Brazil, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey, Browns fans, this month's winner of the local business platform presented by Minutemen is Smooth Rider Smoothie. Smooth Rider Smoothie, Northeast Ohio's premier smoothie option, providing a healthy choice for those on the move. Visit their brick-and-mortar location in Ohio City today. To learn more, visit clevelandbrowns.com/local business platform. I should also tell you that OBM is a provider of copiers and document services for your Cleveland Browns. They'll tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Time for a little higher or lower. Hello, Gibby.
IMDb.
All right,
That is a
let's do
popular. It's where you go to get your movie info.
Okay.
I got to tell you something. This list stinks.
Top 20 Christmas
Whoa.
movies of all
This
time.
is
It's a very
terrible.
popular list on the website. 3.9 million views.
Okay, I just think we have to do one thing.
A lot of people have gotten dumber.
I'm going to just say one thing before we even get started. There are two movies on lists that I would put in the 2 of the 10 movies I've seen the most in my life, neither of which I consider a Christmas movie. I've seen Die Hard a million times. I do not think Die Hard is a
very
Christmas
controversial.
movie. I know it's controversial. I just don't think it is.
Not, it's a movie
It's an
that
action
takes place
movie.
at Christmas.
Christmas is there. It has very little to do other than just getting him to Los Angeles.
If he had said, instead of yippee-ki-yay, if he had said like ho, ho, ho,
Yeah.
maybe it's more
I
Christmas.
just don't, and I love it. I think it was the first action movie I
There's a
showed
former
the boys.
Browns coach that would vehemently deny
he would,
this.
but he's not right.
And then the other one I would say is Trading Places. I'm sorry,
Places
like
is not a
Trading
Christmas
Places
movie.
is an all-time movie for me. It's one of my 5
Mortimer.
favorite movies of all time.
We're back.
But Trading Places is not a Christmas movie. So and I don't think Gremlins is either. I haven't seen Gremlins since I watched it when I was a kid, but I don't recall it
It's
having
not
anything
one of
to
the
do with
top
Christmas.
10 Christmas. I mean, it's what a ridiculous statement to make.
All right, go ahead, Gibby.
I'm already disappointed.
In who?
This list.
Thank you. Agreed.
Number 1 is It's a Wonderful Life.
Where do you guys on It's a Wonderful Life?
I don't even think I've ever seen it.
I've seen it. I mean, it's
as
a
a
nice
kid.
story. It's good. It's not the number one. It's put it this way.
It's not fun.
No, it's not fun. When it comes to the Christmas season, I am Buddy the Elf, and I will watch as many Christmas movies as I possibly can in that time period, and that never gets in my rotation. I'm talking, I'll bank 30 Christmas movies from Thanksgiving to Christmas, like every night.
Same.
Christmas movie. Never has it. I did it once to check the box. No, don't need to watch it again. Not number 1. Lower, worse.
Yeah, worser. I don't think it is either.
And
I don't think
Hoff's
it's
never
any
seen
fun.
it, so that tells
Same
me
with
it's
like
worse.
Miracle on 34th Street. These are old timey.
No, I haven't
like
seen those either.
Is Home Alone a Christmas movie or is it
100%.
Thanksgiving?
yes, it is.
No, it's
Christmas.
Christmas.
yes.
Yeah. And I think it's now, generationally, I think it's number 1.
I would agree.
The 15 to 20 minute clip when they go to break into the house and he has to defend the house, I still cry. I laugh so
So good.
hard.
It's so great.
I
That
do feel like
20-minute
they'd been,
little
they'd have been
scene
dead.
with all of those guys.
Yes, they would have been dead. One of my boys said to me when we were watching it last week, they're like, "Dad, which one do you think had it worse?" And I think it's Lloyd has it worse because I think he definitely dies. I don't know how he survives the fall down the steps.
Fall downstairs? Yeah.
The iron to the head. That I don't know. Then the fall backwards on the cement after stepping on the nail. I don't. I think he got it worse. But they're both
Pesci got
bad.
blowtorched pretty good, right?
He did, but I don't. Is that fatal? He lost his hair. I mean, the other feels like fatal. I feel like
Being burnt would be very, very bad. I would not enjoy that.
yeah,
I'm with you. I think they're both toast.
yeah. I think so too.
All right.
But
Hot
it's so
Bandits.
good. It holds up.
Hoff, what would you put as the number 1 in the house with the children? What's the number 1 Christmas movie?
So I don't know if this is generational, but it feels like in my house and with Annie and I, it's Christmas Vacation.
Yes, number 1. Thank you. Yes, this is not.
It's not even a controversy. There's no discussion. It's Christmas Vacation. It's the family movie. It seems like among our friends too, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Everybody loves it.
The only thing with that, if you have younger children as parent, I do think there's an age on that one.
Yeah, they got to come into it. As
you have
like,
to. There's an age where you have to be achieved in order to watch that.
What's
Does
the
that make
age?
Well, I'll tell you off air.
Let me tell you, you're wrong.
No, I'm just curious because we just showed our 6-year-old and she loved it.
But also probably maybe missed. There's an
She
age
missed
where they
a lot
get
of
the
humor, probably,
innuendo,
Yeah.
Sure.
and she's probably too young to get it. Like
So not inappropriate for the youngest. They just
because
wouldn't
they don't.
understand
It blows through.
It's over their heads.
It blows
which is
through.
probably good.
But
there's a lot of innuendo there.
There's a lot of innuendo there, and one specific issue there that is that way. But if you miss it, you miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's I mean.
Okay, so that's a
it.
unanimous number 1. Where's Elf in all this? Elf currently is 9th on this list.
Wrong. 2.
I got it at 5. I love Elf, but there's a few that are above it in my book.
Who do you have above?
So Bad Santa is my second all-time favorite. I remember watching it as a college student, a freshman. I went to the university theaters for $1. You could go and watch Bad Santa, and you could buy beer at 18. Not legally, but nobody was checking IDs back then. And I remember crying in the theater. That's still to this day the hardest I've ever laughed in a theater. Everything that happened just made me cry.
Billy Bob is a force. He's really a force to be reckoned with.
Great in Landman.
Yeah.
Throwing a lot of gas in Landman.
What else do you have?
So I got one that you guys might not have on here, but my mother-in-law actually got me into this one, White Christmas. Beautiful story.
Like the original one?
The original with the sisters that are the
singers.
dancers, and they go out to Vermont. And there's just like something very home, I can't think of the right word, but like very warm and comforting and nostalgic that it feels about like everybody pulling together and saving the ski resort, and happens during the Korean War. And like I feel like they give you a little taste of the times, and that's the only old school movie that I would have that I actually watched during Christmas time. Of course, I got 10, so there's a couple other here, but that is one of those old school ones that we all watch, and you just walk away. You don't laugh a ton, it's not making you cry, but you just feel good.
You
feel the Christmas spirit.
All right, top 5: Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, Elf, The Grinch, and then A Christmas Story. And then the one that Amy and I watch every year together is Love Actually.
Oh.
All right, so I just put together real quickly a top 15.
Of course you did.
Wow.
Christmas Vacation 1.
Private School
How about
Nate.
just 5, buddy?
Christmas Vacation 1. Elf 2. Christmas Story 3. The Santa Claus, which I haven't heard enough talk about.
I like Santa Claus. That was 6 for me.
Santa Claus 4. Home Alone 5. Love Actually 6. The Holiday 7. Love that.
Oh, The Holiday. I do like that one.
Great
too. That'll
film.
be in my top 10.
Office Christmas Party.
Yes.
Office Christmas Party is
Okay.
elite. If you have not
Love it,
seen it,
you've not.
it's
good, yeah.
elite. And it is for... That's
Adults.
for like a you and Annie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Not the 6-year-old.
Just because I'm a good friend, Christmas Bounty starring The Miz comes in at number 9, and we watch it every single year. In fact, it was screened. Its red carpet premiere was in my basement. True story. Number 10,
Humble
Bad
brag.
Santa. Number 11, Grinch, and I'll put both of them there. Number 12, the original Rudolph when they go to the Island of Misfits Toys. It's just tremendous. Number 13, one I'd recommend for everybody out there called Klaus on Netflix. It's Santa's origin story.
There you go.
Really, really well done. Kids would love it.
Okay.
Animated
Jordan like that.
voice actors you'd know for sure. Number 14, Christmas Chronicles, which is Kurt Russell, and he is
the
an
kids love
awesome
that
one. And
one,
the
yeah.
True Believers, which you got to keep the kid True Believers. I'm still a True Believer, 46, no big deal. And then number 15 for me would be called The Night Before, which is also adults.
Adultish, yeah.
It's Rogan.
You've never seen Fred Claus, right?
With
Vince
no,
Vaughn?
so that's on my list. Fred Claus and Christmas with the Cranks are the two that I haven't seen that people say
Yeah,
to see.
they're both good.
And then I saw last night now what is now the most streamed movie or the biggest streaming premiere in the history of Amazon Prime.
Red One.
Red One, which had 50 million something like that streams. Let me see if I can pull it.
Is that The
right-
Rock?
This is The Rock.
The Rock one. So it bombed at the
Bombed.
movie theaters.
Totally
I mean, could not have bombed.
But they were
more.
smart. They pulled it quickly to Amazon for the Christmas
50
push.
million view
Yeah.
streams in the first 4 days. It's Amazon's streaming record. You got him. You got Chris Evans. It's a fun story. J.K. Simmons, is that his name?
Yeah.
Is Santa. There's a kidnapping. There's you get Krampus is in it. You get this ice witch. You get the whole thing, and it's like a big time action movie. They pull some stuff that feels Star Warsy in some scenes. There's stuff from other Christmas movies in there. It's a big time like popcorn blockbuster. I don't get the hate for it. It was we had a great time. We all liked it.
Krampus, as in like the Eastern European
Yes,
like, dark
Krampus,
evil
yes.
man. I
Well,
learned about him when I was in Germany. He's a very scary figure.
He is. Well, and there's
Better be nice, children. Krampus is coming
He's
for you.
coming. All right, so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Eggnog or Tom and Jerry? What do? You go eggnog?
Nog.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to like eggnog. Eggs?
At Christmas time, I like the nog, baby.
This is way worse than clam chowder.
I like the nog with a
Holy
little,
cow.
bourbon in it.
Well, sure, but like...
When we can.
How many are you drinking, though? That's my problem with eggnog is I'll take a little bit and then I've had enough.
You can't have more than 6 cups. That's too many.
Yeah. But
We
my
have to
favorite
talk
is
about this.
the Christmas ale with the cinnamon sugar on the rim.
Oh, that's a delight.
Dude, I have the moose thing.
I know you do.
It
goes
I
against
drink
everything
Yeah,
you're
it's good.
about. The next level is coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.